Seeing none, moving on. SD 2659. SD2. H. This is regarding establishes your industrial hemp. This is Representative Thielen's pilot program to allow the cultivation of industrial hemp and distribution of its seeds in Hawaii. First up, Scott Enright in support, Department of Agriculture. Next up, Ashley Lukens, Hawaii Center for Food Safety in support. Randy Cabral in support. Sam Small in support. My computer is stuck.
Is there anybody else wishing to testify?
Yes. Anybody else wishing to testify?
Hopefully you don't read
SD number 2659. Come on up, Paula Shiro.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Paul O'Shea, representing Alexander and Baldwin. Prior to proceeding with our testimony today, I just wanted to make one clarification, if I could. A&B did include in testimony before a prior committee a recommendation to limit the industrial hemp pilot program to one test site. This provision was not incorporated into the bill that you have before you today. A&B, upon further consideration and review of this issue, A&B has significantly modified its testimony that I'll be presenting today, and we will no longer be proposing nor supporting this provision. So just wanted to clarify that. For our testimony today, Madam Chair and members, A&B supports the bill in its present form with one request for an amendment to essentially address situations when the THC threshold for industrial hemp is inadvertently exceeded. A&B has been in discussions with both the State Department of Agriculture and the University of Hawaii regarding A&B's potential participation in an industrial hemp pilot project on Maui. Although the 2014 Farm Bill, U.S. Farm Bill, allows for the cultivation of industrial hemp for research purposes, we understand that industrial hemp is still included as a Schedule I item in the Federal Controlled Substances Act. A&B is therefore in the process of evaluating the various legal issues at the federal level regarding A&B's potential participation in an industrial hemp pilot project. And we're just about at the end of that due diligence, working with the Department Drug Enforcement Administration. It's our understanding, Madam Chair, that growing industrial hemp in a tropical climate like Hawaii may lead to THC levels that inadvertently go above the 0.3 threshold. Thus, we respectfully request your consideration to incorporate into this bill appropriate amendments to allow for an increase in the acceptable level of THC as permitted by the Federal Drug Enforcement Administration or the Board of Agriculture to address instances when the THC threshold is inadvertently exceeded. And we have included language in our testimony.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else wanting to testify? I finally got my computer running, but there's like over a lot of people testifying. Anybody else wanting to testify on SB number 2659? Seeing none. Wait a second. Any questions by any other representatives? Representative Thielen, go ahead.
Okay, Mr. O'Sheryl, come back up, will you? Is anyone here from State Department of Agriculture? No. Absence noted. Okay, then because you're our testifier,
okay. Try my best.
just to make sure, you're not proposing it be limited to one site.
We are not.
Okay,
and
great.
We apologize for that. We are not.
That's great. And a couple of things I just wanted to. There's some really interesting testimony in here, and I hope the chair's computer unfreezes so she can see it. But it's up to 27 states now that have legalized industrial hemp under the Federal Farm Act of 2014. So we're over halfway there. It's something that they're contemplating being a let me just see what we're saying here. In Kentucky, the farmers are receiving 5 times more than they get for corn, soy, wheat. And Kentucky's outgoing ag commissioner, James Cormer, said that he expects hemp to be a top 5 crop in the nation within 10 years. So you're right at the beginning with the vacant sugar land, and you're right there ready to move ahead, as are other farmers that are within the testimony, frozen in the chair's computer. My question to you specifically, other farmers would be really harmed by a couple of provisions that are in the bill itself. And specifically, if you refer to page 18 of the bill, if you have it paginated in front of you. And in page 18, what we're ending up with is saying these smaller farmers, not A and B, because you have plenty of land, but the smaller farmers on page 18, subsection K, would have to separate growing areas by a certain number of feet. They would have to put up physical barriers such as hoop house or row cover, etc. And there's nothing in the Federal Farm Act that even contemplates such a thing. So does A&B have a position on this? Because it seems slanted to you rather than individual farmers, which I think would be very objectionable by the wider farming community.
Sure. Actually, Representative, first off, A&B was not a part of drafting this measure. It was drafted totally independent of any input that we
But
offered.
in the matter of equality,
But,
you would have no concern
sure.
with removing those restrictions that aren't required by federal law.
Yeah, actually, Madam Chair, we're open to working with whatever the committee, yourself and the committee decides is
Well,
appropriate.
that's page
A&B,
18.
again, we're just in the final stages of our due diligence legally, and if that pans out, we're looking, we would do our best to comply with whatever provisions you think.
Because this would definitely hurt the smaller farmers that have wanted to go ahead. Okay, then another provision that just boggles my mind is on page 16, subsection 14. And now remember, Federal Farm Act just simply authorizes all the states to put together pilot programs to study the growth, cultivation, or marketing of industrial hemp. That's it. That's what the feds say. This is Congress signed by President Obama into law. So here comes Senate Bill 2659, and Chair, it's on page 16. And they're saying that farmers have to put in case-hardened locks and chains to limit access. They have to mark equipment and plants with owner-applied numbers on the plants. I mean, I don't know what we're talking about. This is a plant that won't get anyone high. Then they have to block private access roads to the growing areas with gates or barricades. This, again, is aimed at a large operation that maybe could do this, but it's not your rural farmers. It's not your big island farmers that want to grow hemp for animal feed.
Okay, Ms.
And
Representative Thielen,
Yes, I'm getting there.
I have a question.
This is really a clinker. They'd have to install security measures, including cameras. So is A&B promoting these kinds of restrictions, which again your small farmers will find so onerous they won't be able to grow a crop that could feed their animals, that could provide material for building, and where they could make much more money than other crops that we have growing in Hawaii?
Yeah, Representative, again, just to clarify again, A&B did not draft the bill, nor we consulted when it was drafted. A&B is just interested in finishing up our due diligence legally to see if we can participate in this program. If that turns out to be positive, we will certainly defer to whatever the committee feels are reasonable requirements and recommendations for this. But for A&B anyway, We are open to whatever the committee decides.
You would have no objection then to having these onerous restrictions taken out so the smaller farmers could go ahead and grow hemp?
And again, we did not, we certainly defer to the committee's wisdom in what is best
Okay,
with
I'm
this
almost
issue.
there. I'm almost there, but I mean, this was...
We still have to DM, okay?
Yeah, I know. These provisions were so startling, and they would be so
have no opposition.
damaging. Well, all right. And then, okay, there we are. Okay. I think we're about there. But I like your changes that you're proposing, but I don't like to see it be a A&B bill only by some of the provisions that you are not proposing to be in the bill,
again, Representative,
and they could be removed.
I certainly understand what you're saying, and again, Representative, A&B is not interested in provisions that would, cut out any small farmers and favor A&B.
Because there was a lot of testimony that the chair's computer froze on, with people saying, "Wait a minute, we want farmers to be able to grow this. This should not just be an A&B opportunity." So I'm glad to see that you're with us on that it should be available for the broad farming community where the farmers can make more money than with the crops they're growing now.
Again,
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good enough.
Okay, Representative Cragen.
Yeah, just real quick. One, I want to thank you for whatever it happened that made you change the testimony, because I think otherwise this would have been not very good for the further A&B bill. But for this particular thing, you mentioned a higher level of THC, which I think is very reasonable. Had you done any research to think about what is allowed elsewhere? I say in Florida or someplace. I'm not sure Florida allows it, but.
And I guess the concern, Representative, is that should we participate in the program, we grow the hemp, and if inadvertently the THC goes above 0.3%,
because nobody's going to look for 1% THC.
Yeah, and we just
wanted to be raised somewhat.
Well, we're just hoping that we actually inquired with the Drug Enforcement Administration a few weeks ago on what the process would be if this happens, and we're waiting for a response.
Okay.
And pursuant to that response, we just wanted to be sure that the state law could cover whatever the DA comes out with should that THC level be exceeded inadvertently, and that's the whole intent of that proposal.
Yeah, we certainly don't want to be more onerous than the DA.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Any other
well.
questions?
Yes, Representative.
Oh, Representative Bellotti.
So no one from Department of Agriculture is here. No one. You are the only one. Do you know who the primary drafters of this proposed language is?
No, we were not. Yeah.
Thank you.
Again, we just became, at the start of, during session, the first half of session, we were starting our due diligence, and we're just at a point now where we feel comfortable in saying that we're at the tail end of our due diligence, that we're looking at possibly participating in, and we did not draft. We're not part of, this is not an A&B bill, first off, so just to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay,
So
one more
just
question.
one comment. So I appreciate that you're saying that that's not your intent, because I think that there are actually other landowners who have expressed interest in this. So to echo some of the comments of Representative Thielen, I think that at least from this committee's perspective, it should not be something that's limited, and yet there seems to be, we don't know who the main drafters are behind this.
No, it's not me.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just to make clear what the record is, my computer has unfroze, and there are 70 people in support and some in comments, and only one person in opposition. Anybody else wanting to ask questions? Okay, for those committee members who are watching on TV, we only have one more bill, and we will be DMing soon, so hopefully you could start moving over here so we can move on. Okay, last bill. Chair Rhodes is watching everything we're doing here.
Everyone say hi, Carl.
Keep going into recess then.
Okay, per his OM's approval, we are going to paraphrase certain sections of what Representative Thielen requests to be in the committee report, because he has to sign it, not me. So Moving on. Okay, anything else? We need to call
we have
for
to
the
vote.
vote. We need to call for the vote.
Yes, thank you. Members, we're running SB 2659 SD2. Recommendation to pass with amendments. Knowing the excuse absent of Chair Rhodes and Representatives Kawakami and Lee. Are there any reservations? Any noes? Seeing none, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, moving on. SB number 2496, SD